Freedom has eliminated B-Step from the HGC Playoffs. Can they continue their run through Superstars next? That's the question we aim to answer. Guys, I'll be the first to say it live. We got baited by B-Step.
We did. We, in fact, got baited by B-Step. All the other teams hyping it up, and in the end, walk in, walk out real quick.
I just wish that B-Step had more confidence in the things they did well. Their mechanics, their team fighting, their aggression is all really, really good. When they play to those strengths, they're dominant. And they're being too fancy. They're trying to play styles that they don't excel at. And if they had more confidence in what they did excel at, I think they would be way more of a threat.
Well, this is now a time that B-Step can take those lessons that they've learned, try to meld old and new B-Step style together and emerge even stronger in Phase 2. And I cannot wait to see that happen, because I believe it will happen. But Team Freedom is moving on, and as we mentioned, they are one step closer to the mid-season brawl. Up next, they will take on Superstars, our team defined as Wild in our matchup video hyping up this weekend. You never know what Superstars will bust out, but we know that Superstars, it was very important to them that they didn't have to play that first match because they wanted to be able to hide some strategies for Teammate and for Gale Force Esports. And they continued to tell me that when I talked to Goku. So they'll be doing the same thing, trying to hide strategies. How far are they allowed to do that? Maybe 1-2 losses before they have to give things away?
I think for me, it's one loss. One loss is enough, where I would like to see Superstars bring something else out, because there's a difference between like building a core comp and having like 5 versions of it, right? And having like a cheese strategy. A cheese strategy, it's the one-hit wonder. It's going to come in, it's going to win or lose, and it can never be played properly again, appropriately through a draft. I hope that they have a bit more of the, we have multiple variations so they can get away with it. But if it's anything like the cheese-oriented strategy, then you can go for a second loss first.
Superstars hasn't seemed to play a lot of cheese as of late. Do you think they're banking them all in, or is this a new Superstars?
I think Superstars is banking on the fact that they get draft value passively from being known as a team that will cheese you.
Ah.
Yeah. At some point, it just got to the point where everybody expected them to do some ridiculous nonsense as if they were not comfortable in their own standard play. And they just turned that around. They were like, all right, if everybody's just going to ban like Vikings randomly and stuff against us, we're just going to like get slightly better heroes than you and just try to outplay you.
Well, we got to talk to the players again before this matchup, so let's hear from Goku and Insomnia.
Superstars is actually a good contender in the HGC, and I think they're highly underrated. I feel like the #1 player to look out for on Superstars is mostly Goku. He's never afraid to make a play, and he's always looking to make the play as well. So he's honest. Definitely under our radar on the series, but if we get our drafts and we play our game and we stay aggro and stay in their face, we are confident against Superstars.
It means a lot to our team to be in the higher standing. That way we can observe B-Step and Team Freedom face against each other. That way we can get ready and prepare drafts. And it also means a lot that it's one less matchup that both Gale Force and Teammate won't be able to see all of our drafts. I think there's a small chance for Freedom to beat B-Step just because they haven't had enough experience playing the tournament style of playoff. They're mostly coming in as the underdog.
As I said before, Superstars believed they'd be playing B-Step here, but now they have to go up against a different opponent. Have they had enough time? Do you think those types of drafts that they saw in the first series would make them try to make any changes at this point, Cawthon?
Freedom's got to be riding high. I mean, they had to consider B-Step to be a serious threat, more so than Superstars. And after showing how dominant their passive Nazebo comps can be, I don't see why they don't just keep playing that until someone puts a stop to it.
Well, let's see what the first battleground will be. Towers of Doom, a favorite of both of these teams, Superstars and Freedom. When we're looking at bans, Cursed Hollow banned by Superstars, Battlefield of Eternity, the ban again for Freedom.
So comfortable for game 1 for both teams, which makes it more important as a tone setter for me. Just comfortability on maps itself is a huge thing. And if you can get a free win on a map that both teams feel comfortable, I think morally that does do a lot to the opposing team here. So you know, if Freedom wants to win the series, I think if they can set the tone in game one on not only that, the map chosen by Superstars, it should scare them.
Cawthon, you touched on something that I want to ask you about. You said that Freedom have to be looking at B-Step as more of a hurdle even than Superstars. Even though Superstars, they're higher up in the standings. And this is something that we have talked about, is Superstars never feels like they're a super dominant, scary team, a scary opponent. Why do you think that is?
Well, Superstars has been the most consistent team in NA. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, it depends on which place you're aiming for. They have been basically no threat at all to the top 3 teams, but they've been the gatekeepers and very dominant against the lower teams. So when you're in a playoff system like this, they're a good team to measure yourself against because you're obviously aiming to be at the level of the top 3 teams. If you can beat Superstars, you think, I'm probably there. If you can't beat Superstars, you're not going to beat the teams above them anyway, right? So why fear Superstars? If you fear them, then you fear the teams above them, and you don't think you're going to win.
That is very interesting.
It's a bit of the all or nothing, right, like situation.
Yeah.
Because I mean, because that's a counter argument to what we saw out of B-Step in the last game. Let's say they have more things to show. If B-Step unveils everything whatsoever, you know, and sticking a bit more to their strengths, just it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be the best for them to actually most likely make it out of this playoffs, right? It would only better their odds of getting the first series in itself. It just hits a moment where it's, what is our goal? Is it actually qualifying it, or is it getting the highs throughout the playoffs, right? And ideally, you know, it should be going for the long game, so it should be slowly implementing these kind of changes.
So far, the draft quickly unfolding these first few picks. We've got Dahaka and Abathur banned, so again, a focus on global since we are on Towers of Doom. Freedom sticking to things that have worked for them so far, like Cawthon suggested. We're seeing a new Barak, Uther once again for Collusion, and then Zeratul for Insomnia. Superstars, though, bringing in the Falstad, bringing in Malfurion, not showing anything too different just yet in this draft.
It's about as standard as a draft gets on Towers. You ban out 2 globals, one's early picked, and then the counter to that is picked on the next rotation.
A lot of isolation in the draft for Team Freedom, though. Something that Superstars may have to consider between the Cocoon opportunity and having Zeratul with the Void. And D-Shield, just insanely high impact heroes out of Freedom so far in the draft. And another one will be removed with the Tyrael. Banned out. That Tyrael ban.
I immediately was trying to look through things.
To try and figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, it's an interesting one. It's a hero that I'll never judge when banned out. I think he's literally the only hero I would be fine on any map in any comp, but it's just one of those situations where not only does it necessarily meet Freedom's playstyle, but also does it fit into their composition? Not really. They do have maybe one synergistic pick they could have backed it up with afterwards.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if potentially they thought there was going to be a Tyrael Greymane. I don't know. What do you think about that Tyrael ban, Cawthon?
Yeah, I think it has to be the Tyrael Greymane they're afraid of, because I mean, they have the Uther already. A Greymane with that kind of invulnerability is a scary thing, especially when you commit to going in hard, which is what I imagine Team Freedom would do with that comp. So it makes sense for Superstars to want to get that out of the way with a weak backliner like Falstad.
I wonder if Greymane's still thought for Superstars. Superstars have had... Oh,
this
man.
Is
oh, man.
Getting wild.
They're bringing out the cheese, baby.
Is that the Kidnapper?
It is the Kidnapper. Old school Kidnapper into a Divine Shield opportunity and a Void. Gilly, gotta ask, is this too forced?
I feel like if Superstars didn't think that there was a chance, they would have just given up on it. They did not have to get Stitches here if they didn't feel like they still could do it. Take him away, out of the range of Uther, use maybe Stormbolt roots to try to keep Uther from that, and maybe try to just get the free kill, but it seems strange that you're putting a lot on Falstad being able to do that damage.
Yeah, as the single target burst, even with Boomerang gathering Storm.
I guess you'd have to Twilight Dream, maybe?
Yeah.
What are you thinking of this, Cawthon?
Oh, and the Medivh taken there. I was going to say, if they were fully committed to the Kidnapper, they probably should have taken the Medivh there, and then the Stitches last, it's less likely to be counterpicked. So it makes me think that they actually might have just been looking to grab the Stitches just for Stitches' sake, because they really should have picked the Medivh up first if they wanted full Kidnapper with the Gorge and the Portal.
what makes me think that maybe they never had the idea is, or to take Medivh, is the Falstad. That's Hosty's hero. So is Medivh.
Yeah, that is the biggest indicator. I would agree with you off of that point because you don't take Hosty off of either one of those heroes. Yeah, it is interesting. I also feel like I agree with you. Obviously, if you truly are banking on it, but again, it hits one of those moments where was that Superstars kind of relying on their free draft value. Off of that reliable, like if you're really going to take the Medivh into a double, you know, I mean, everybody's pretty much melee at that point. You have very poor-ish wave clear. There's a lot of ways that if you bait the Medivh, you can counter it with this last pick.
It's going to be Lunara. It was, of course, going to be Lunara. Looking at what was left for what Faye would want to play, it's either Lunara or Cassia, I would have to say. She hasn't been playing Vala as much. She can use Lunara to try to slow down Medivh, do damage even once his Force of Wills are down. Stitches.
Stitches.
I really like the way that this draft has turned out for Superstars in terms of the information they get. We've seen from Freedom that they played extremely well when they were able to play safe, passive, prolong the games. With this comp, they forced Freedom into a very aggressive comp where this game one, you can afford to check it out, do some research, see if your opponent is comfortable playing that style. Because if they're playing this aggressive comp and it doesn't work out at all, then Superstars can more freely ban those passive comps later and know that they're going to be in the lead.
I think another thing that it does is actually by Freedom picking up the Medivh itself, they've already removed a question for the rest of the series. How much cheese focus is Superstars? Because they never even got to see the question. Like, do we see Superstars just open up, bank on the Medivh, and all in? Like, if we keep seeing that attempted deny, they're literally helping Superstars not show anything. Because knowing if that was a Medivh or not changes a lot on Superstars. But we are not going to know. And if they do that the rest of the series and they never question those cheese strategies, if Superstars wins the series, they have a huge advantage going on to the next one.
Yeah, all of they have shown right now is that
Stitches,
they might play
which is
Stitches on towers.
That's not that crazy. Stitches' best map. Stitches has been popping up everywhere. Like, it's not insane to just random a Stitches there, that part of the draft. It's whether or not the Medivh followed it.
What do you think of the Stitches? What's the game plan for Superstars with the Stitches?
So I hope it's Goku on Stitches. I haven't seen them play very much of this recently, so I'm not sure. But with Goku's playmaking potential and his ability to solo lane, which there's a good chance Stitches will be doing, I really hope they put him on that hero because Goku's solo laning is quite a bit above what you would expect from a middle-tier team. He does that very, very well, and it's one of the reasons Superstars doesn't fall behind in games early is he's so good in the 1v1 lane.
Well, thank you for your insight, Cawthon. We're ready to get this series underway. Superstars versus Team Freedom. Game 1's on towers. There he is! Bikini Stitches in all his glory. The rest of Superstars, Iacona playing Malfurion, Srey playing Muradin. Up next, Faye playing Lunara once again has been one of her highlights here in Part 2. Goku playing the Stitches, the hook thrower himself. And finally, Hosty playing Falstad.
And for Team Freedom, trying to ride out their momentum, Collusion is going to be on the Uther once more. Zugrug on a new Barak. Insomnia playing the Zeratul. We've got ourselves Dainsky on the Medivh. And last year, we've got Nasmus on the Greymane. So first off, every time I play Dainsky's Medivh in solo queue, he destroys me. Just obliterates me, it feels like. I mean, almost every time I match into him, Medivh. Almost every time.
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought that up then, because he has not played Medivh through
he destroys
all of
me.
HGC.
No, I'm not kidding. Like, I legitimately can't figure out if he's trolling me at this point, just to be like, yo, watch my Medivh just dominate you, because he is very, very good. The number one thing that stood out to me is he seems to be very good with his portal Qs. So, like, after using a portal, getting, like, a max range very quickly without even self-shielding, and then going back through the portal. So, like, sniping those last-second Qs, he seems to be very effective on.
Yeah, that may come in very handy for Team Freedom because they have both Zeratul and Greymane, these targets that if they get into danger might need the Force of Will, especially since there's only one possible Divine Shield, right? That enables Medivh to be able to help out Uther a lot more if he doesn't have to use those Force of Wills for his own kind of aggressive poke.
And you'll be happy to know so far we've got the Slam build in here into the Stitches.
That's what we've been seeing in China, is just full-on Slam build. I saw the one exception for E-Star when they wanted to try to make him the tankier, but in this instance that makes sense too, right? He's not the primary warrior, he is the secondary warrior, so trying to make sure that he can continue to do damage, help out with his wave clear too.
Yeah, and Stitches does have, debatably, if not the highest, it's definitely top 2, top 3 of all the warriors in the entire game when it comes to damage output. It's done a little bit differently. A lot of it is from his W, and then a majority of it afterwards comes out from that passive AoEing. Depends all on how you talent the hero.
It also gives himself some self-follow-up once he gets the slow at 16 too. But, of course, that does mean that you have to give up fishing hooks. So we'll see if Goku really wants to commit all the way through slam build like the Chinese Stitches do.
And even though we have an alter phase happening here on the bottom half of the map, Freedom has already managed to get Zeratul to capture the top right. Medivh has been questionably zoning off of the Stitches the entire time, and now Zeratul's flanking his way on down. Sray maybe gonna get caught out. He's got the Dwarf Toss, so he's fine, but here's the channel from Collusion. No interrupt. Iacona maybe caught out. Nice peeling roots. 2 shots, or at least 2 alters, over to Freedom, 1 for Superstars here.
That is the early lead for Freedom, but it's a long way to go when you look at the rest of Towers of Doom and how it plays out. I'm checking out Anubarak's build, and there were some Anubarak nerfs that came into the last patch, the balance patch that's live for this. Not getting Nerubian armor this time, not giving himself that spell resistance, instead getting Regeneration Master so that he can just try to make himself more tanky, try to make sure that he can withstand Fall Stat as well as Lunar and the poison damage later on. Still going with Bed of Barbs though, that seems to be the norm even with the damage reduction of the last patch.
Yeah, I wonder, that's really interesting to consider into a Falstad. Yes, his damage is technically auto attack when he goes Seasoned Markman, but again, even with Boomerang,
right,
a lot of his damage is magic. He's about a 50-50 hybrid there. Not even, I would still say a majority of it actually, unless you go Giant Killer, is just magic damage. Lunara heavy onto the magic damage as well. And it's not a globe-oriented map, so it's just, I mean, obviously the nerf, and considering that, that is something to change, but I didn't think on a non-globe map into a double mage that I would still see it. I didn't think it would be that severe of a loss to that spell on.
There's a hook that connects. Roots zone Zugrug away from the rest of the team, but he has burrow charge and goes out. Saw Hosty fly into screen and then out of it as the whole team is showing up to try to steal away the Sapper camp, and Superstars will get it.
They've got themselves the camp. No 7 to be obtained, but it does look like Freedom does not want to give up this altar in 4 seconds. As Anubarak is transitioning down, it's going to be a full 5-on-5. The Wisp moving out to get the scout here for Faye. Zdansky hovering above, picked up the Master's Touch. He's ready to start getting those online.
Splintered Spear too, that's the big one for Lunar to be able to spread that damage more effectively. She throws out all of those spears. There's a portal down, allows Dansky to stop Iacona, but he takes a lot of damage in the process.
Did take a bit of damage. Channel attempted once more. Iacona realizing needs to dish out those heals first. Nice zoning from Freedom. They are going to forfeit these shots, setting the core back to even HP here in this game.
Taking stock of this, we have had one hook, but so far no ability to follow up and get kills. Do you think that it's a necessary thing for Superstars that they are banking on kills, or that they have the type of composition where it's not everything for Superstars to get kills off of hooks?
They don't really need everything. So one thing they can do that they can abuse with Stitches and Falstad is they have the world's most terrifying Sapper composition. Those are the 2 heroes. Oh, nice combo out onto Faye, a bit too far out, and that is the first kill for Freedom. But it's just, the Sappers are pressuring in, so Falstad not only with the gust of force shots, but you got Stitches the whole time with a hook while you're trying to rid of them. It's very predictable, your rotations. You have to body block the auto attacks if they aren't going to move forward. That is where Stitches is really, really awesome. And you don't need that single target burst always in those situations, so they can focus on the macro, but anytime you can follow up on a hook, it's always a good thing. It's just one of those situations. In double warriors, you don't really need that single target burst. You don't always have to all in. You can play a more team fight focused draft than maybe, especially compared to what we saw in the last series, which would be, you know, with the Toronto Rexars comp. They are banking all in, has to, whereas flexible here for Superstars.
Maybe Lunara will get Leaping Strike at level 10 so that she can try to provide more of a follow-up too.
I do think that's a must. I will say that. I think the Leaping Strike in this game is going to be very needed here. Srey throws out the Storm Bolt. Must not have a Dwarf Toss up for a bit. Got interrupted. There's a pick.
That pick gave Team Freedom heroic abilities too, and what I want to highlight, specifically for Team Freedom, between the last series and this one, is their dedication. Once a call comes in and a pick, they find who they want to pick, they super delete that pick. They did that versus B-Step 2. Remember Sky Temple up at the top? They found people, and it was no hesitation. We will drop Divine Storm. We will drop our heroics, just to ensure that we get the pick that we commit to. Same with it here, how fast they were able to take out Lunara.
I bet a lot of that has to do with just momentum, especially the youth behind this team. Anytime you get in these major pressured zones, because this really is, other than qualifying for the HGC, the most important tournament this group of players has ever played.
Yeah.
And when you see that one guy out of position, I promise you the comms are absurd. Hosey actually winning this trade. Vorpal? No, he Vorpaled back already. He didn't use the teleport, allowing Hosey to barrel fly out. Man, if that singularity spike had hit, though.
Lights out.
Lights out. Nice stun. Follow-up route here up on bottom. Zugrug is okay. Zeratul looks like he's going to rotate down as Falstad restoring towards top. So this fight happens up on bottom. Freedom has a slight rotational advantage. Nothing to be gained. It's going to be a passive mid-game here.
It was such an awesome point that you brought up for Freedom, though, because remember, a lot of people were questioning if they were going to be in the Crucible, if they deserved to be in the Crucible. A lot of people were at the phase, or part 1, part 2 break in between, thinking that it might be Freedom that fell down into that, even when we talked to teams, players from Open Division teams. So in this instance, proving that they absolutely deserve to be where they are, and they belong here in HGC.
And this is a good place to prove it. On this very influential altar phase, it's going to set the tone here. Hook missing. Zeratul still's floating around on mid as he's looking for that 1v1 into the Hosty. Hosty barely survived the last initiation.
Yeah, and the difference here too is that Dansky can drop down. He's checking on him. Insomnia starts to do this. Dansky does drop down, trying to zone away Hosty while Insomnia just picks up this altar. Superstars are starting to get split apart. Twilight Dream's been used.
It ended up hitting Dansky, I believe, but he is just fine. That forces the Void from Insomnia to get the peel. Curse Bullet landing onto Goku. Gust is used. Murden starting the channel on bot. Uther looks like he got the Frisbee out, got the delay. Hook now going on to Zugrug. No channel started yet. Srey doesn't get it, but he gets the Storm Bolt immediately, predicting Dansky's entrance.
Ooh, that was with style. Goku now turns to be the one to pick up the altar and will get it. Finally, the zoning from Superstars is complete. And they get those shots. 24-28, an incredibly close Towers of Doom game in game 1 of this best of 5.
I feel like Team Freedom here, we've already seen it a little bit, but it's only going to get worse. And Srey is okay after that Dwarf Toss. I mean, they could not have any more isolation in the world. And they've got a lot of chaos they can create with the Medivh, but other than the Medivh factor to their composition and just isolation, they don't have a lot of damage. So if we see those heroics used and they aren't successful in opening up a team fight whatsoever, it's very unlikely they can recover from that point because, again, their comp isn't that effective or synergistic without those heroics.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to Gust, too. If Falstad's there in the right way and he can be able to Gust so that Team Freedom can't follow up, those types of things.
I don't think he's going to be there in the right way. I don't even think he's going to be here very long.
He gets out.
That entire time, I want to know what Hosey's doing on that Falstad. How?
Yeah, he survives again.
He's survived 3 1v1s into a Zeratul. Is Hosey the best Falstad in the world, or is Insomnia messing something up in this rotation? Like not getting a value out of his 4, not waiting for another auto tech reset, so okay. Check the shrub.
I can't look away from this.
I know. It's so...
I mean, yeah. I actually can't. I mean, I don't control the observer, so thank you, Poseidon. But also, I can't look away from it, like, figuratively. But now we must.
But alas, the shrines do spawn. The altars are here. 15 seconds. I've just never seen his false head trade that well. I've just never in my life.
Hosty, you have impressed Dreadnought today. 3 altar phases. Stitches is going to come up to help out with Falstad, not allowing Falstad to become prey to the Zeratul, especially with Dansky there too. But Dansky can delay for a long time, especially now that Zeratul has picked up the other altar in the top lane. Still, the fight rages on here in the bottom with the 3v3. In the top, Falstad gets it, so now everyone's starting to head down to make this a 5v5.
Falstad's got that flight, so he'll be here a bit earlier. Goku on that Stitches, looking to join the camera screen, is beating the 2 members of Freedom.
Hook, Root, Zugrug takes a lot of damage, but again, Collusion's there. Leyline Seal!
Faye taking a lot of damage on the back line. Void's gonna hit her mid-leaping strike. We'll see where she lands after that, but Zugrug taking a bit of damage, drops his heroic there, the Cocoon isolating, but after a Divine Storm, there is no more Iacona on the board.
Man, that was a lot of chaos. That Insomnia could just jump in, get a kill, jump out. Helping Hand gets Stray out, but now Goku goes down, and the fight continues. Lunara out. Team Freedom have killed 3 so far. Stray and Hosty trying to get away. Stray with a great disengaging Storm Bolt. Nasmus trying to get that final blow that would take out Hosty. But they'll be content to get 3 kills in this team fight, setting the core health of Superstars to 16 and starting the sapper pressure.
And the sapper pressure has got to be the most difficult thing here for Superstars, just based on the fact that their Freedom can dictate the pace and the rotations of Superstars for the next couple of seconds, and that will allow Freedom to further their advantage, maybe even go for a cheeky boss, depending on how adventurous they are here today. 13 minutes into the game, usually not the focus, but the sapper pressure up on bot without 15, there's no way Superstars can maintain this fort. They're going to dabble. At least test out the waters. Superstars? You realize that's a Leyline Seal Medivh? This is really risky defense.
Insomnia is starting to step in. Goku's not here. There's not even a way of being able to hook in. There's Dansky. Roots catch him.
All right, so they get the fort.
They avoid Leyline.
Yeah, a lot of that, you know, it just didn't line up perfectly there. But the fort was obtained by Freedom. That's the most important part there.
Right.
They've got the Falstad and the Zeratul rotating up. Zeratul is not even going to find Goku. He may, but quickly learn that's not a fight he's going to want with Falstad up there. Superstars hasn't even gotten a kill this game, Gilly. They're yet to get a pick, but they're even. They've managed to stay into this game.
Yeah, the one way they're not even is the core health right now. But full slam build now available for Goku. He gets a hook, but a cursed bullet follows it up. Stray deep into the back line of Team Freedom. Goku trying to join in, but gets taken out with Cocoon from his putrid bile. Gus to help. Man, Stray went down so fast there, and Goku's likely to follow suit.
Beautiful cleanse coming out from Iacona, and it may actually keep him alive. Can he dodge the W from Insomnia? Good hook, a lot of damage rebuttal, but it was not enough. Stitches falls down as well. Freedom, 7-0. 10-shot advantage on core and still have themselves an extra bell tower. I mean, I'm just looking for how does Superstars win these fights?
I was gonna ask you that.
Well, I mean, step 1.
Okay.
Sray cannot be miles away from everybody else. Step 2, Superstars has got to play with some confidence here. You know, they felt early game things went according to plan. This mid game is very much not their, you know, greatest look. But it plays into what we were talking about before this. Superstars, as Coffin Luck put him, you know, as the middle of the pack, why should you be afraid of Superstars? You know, there are the gatekeepers of that top 3 of North America.
Lately, this time of game has sort of been the Achilles heel of Superstars too.
Yeah, that's what,
They fall victim to a lot of staggered deaths. And now they're also not even, it's like they're not putting themselves into a position where they can even give those staggered deaths. Goku has been doing a remarkable job of split soaking to keep them in the game, as has Hosty. But this goes back to a core problem that Superstars has existed for a very long time, and that's being able to figure out how to get back into the game when they're behind. But again, Team Freedom is riding off of this amazing momentum, being able to take out B-Step, and it's a battleground where they feel confident. They just need to play the next few minutes out correctly, and they'll be able to walk away with the first victory in the series.
Yeah, I think the reason that just comes to light so quickly is just based on the fact that this game is not only obviously shutout and kills in favor of Freedom, but beyond all else, it's not like this was one team fight that we witnessed. It's just kind of been, oh, here's a kill there, oh, there's a kill there in these team fights, and it just makes it feel less authentic. Nice hook attempt with the Twilight Dream. Beautiful force of will, but it's enough to give Superstars the kill. Zeratul, though, has started the channel, so 5 shots moving into the core of Superstars.
Yeah, they're trying to slow anyone else down from getting away, trying to get Superstars more kills, but Falstad wanted to head up, and Hosty does not feel comfortable enough. He's safe. He knows that he does not want to deal with Insomnia.
I guarantee if Hosty was not bodying those trades over and over again, Zeratul would have snap started that channel, expecting the 1v1 at least early on. So a benefit out of those trades for Insomnia, paying off in the late game. 25 seconds and they'll have themselves a Medivh. The sapper pressure out on bot, but Superstars has to balance out the map. That's got to be the first focus for them.
The big thing for Superstars 2 in the last fight is because Freedom were separated and Falstad came down, Zeratul was still up. They had Leyline Seal, but not Void Prison at the same time to try to keep Dansky alive. And the Twilight Dream went through, did massive amounts of damage once Force of Will ended. So Superstars has a moment. They have equalized the battleground. They have 5 shots remaining for their core.
Can they do it? The pressure up on bottom. Superstars is keeping the Stitches flank, question mark? No, scouted by the Medivh, so even if it was, Ray moving forward. Ate a lot of damage, not a cursed bullet though. Hook lands, roots there, Force of Will, nice portal, Leyline Seal, hitting all 4.
They'll start to pop out. Hosty knocks Insomnia away. Putrid Vile's been used. The damage starting to come in for Superstars. Stray jumps in. There's a Storm Bolt. Do we have a hook possibility too? Slam hits, but not in time. Hook will bring down the gate.
The inevitable fight of mid is still happening. So Fawcett actually tried to back after that skirmish, but Insomnia's been trying to make sure he can't. Force maybe a flight out of him. He will end up getting the back. 20 advantage here for Freedom. This is not game, but it means a lot. Divine Storm is going to be used.
Iakona's inside there. He gets broken out. He still has Twilight Dream. We still have a Leaping Strike too as possibilities for Superstars. But they need 20 if they can. They lose Falstad.
We spent the entire game witnessing Falstad versus Zeratul, and remember Koth and Luck talking about the power spike of Zeratul at 20. The minute he hits 20, Zeratul no longer worried about that Falstad. Nice root, a beautiful Force of Will. Twilight Dream bolts, ends up hitting 5 members of Freedom, but no kill to be gained after that play from Iacona. Dansky retreating, Insomnia trying to pull away.
Look at this poison damage though between Lunara and the Putrid Bile. They are wrecking Team Freedom. Zeratul out of here. Leyline Seal buys some time, and with Medivh's cheats, even catches Lunara, but it doesn't matter. They've taken out 2. Now one of those was Uther. He has redemption, so he will be back momentarily. But Superstars, we're starting to see now that they've got this late game poison. But is it enough when they're so far behind in the core health?
Exactly what was going to be my response. But is it enough, Gilly? It all started with a nice root. And I thought, you know, that we would see a closer fight here when things came online for Superstars. But this is, look at the health bars. Everybody is fine.
Yes.
They aren't even worried about it. So if Superstars can make that happen again in their initiation in the start of the next fight, it's going to look very, very good for them. It's just whether or not that 5 HP on the core is enough breathing room for them to actually make those plays and not be put in those lose-lose situations.
Yeah, it's not just like doing it again. It's doing it again and again and again until they win the game, being so far down. But They've held at 5 core health for a long time now, so maybe there is the chance. The Sappers up in the top lane. Falstad grabbed those, and that bell tower is getting fairly low. Falstad now flying to the bottom, hoping that with the force of rotation from Zeratul, Superstars can win another team fight.
Zeratul's shown. Will Superstars force? They get a little bit of damage. I would have wanted, man. It's that amount of HP that I want to see a team just all in on those. So many teams get it so low and they're like, it's just out of reach. But if you just, everybody right clicks for half a second longer, dead, take that fight.
And now they could potentially rotate up to the top, or at least send somebody. It's low. They might wait until the next altar phase though and get it to guarantee that they have the extra shot. Not in the most favorable position for that.
Nice root. Force of Will is going to be forced out there onto Collusion. He drops into the void. He's got a Divine Storm out of it.
Oh, yes, he does. Hits 3. Iacona Ice blocks Twilight Dream 2. Fate in trouble. Fate is down. Hosty flies away, trying to make sure that he can stay alive, but caught from Medivh cheats. Burrow charge. Team Freedom take down Falstad.
4 seconds. They got themselves the altars that they need to finish this game over Superstars. As Saray reveals himself from the cocoon. Sadly, not as beautiful as a butterfly, but close.
Especially with that golden avatar. Man, this is rough for Superstars. They have to stop one of these. They have to get one of these. They can't let both of them go in.
With 3 members down, only Stitches and Saray on the Murden. Now only Stitches remain. It's one of those things where you understand why we are in the position that we're at, but it's still painful to watch it play out.
Was there any possibility that someone could have ran top and taken that down?
Yes, there was technically a possibility for that to be a thing. But with 5 shots only remaining on the core itself, even then, it wouldn't matter. Double.
Team? Hello?
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 I think I'm back.
Maybe?
Hello? Nice.
There we go. It would have been 4 shots.
It would have set it down to, you're right, it would have.
It would have been set it down to 1.
By committing one person that far away, you essentially are sacrificing one.
Yeah.
You're literally giving up one just for the bell tower.
Yeah, and then there was still a possibility of boss, and everyone else had died. Man, that game went nuts. Cawthon, what do you think?
I think that we may have missed a chance for a super play from Superstars. Their Falstad, I really would have liked to see him look for a chance to snipe that top keep that was at 1 HP forever. Once the timing was there so that gave them the snap 20 and then use the epic to hard engage unexpectedly across the map.
I think you have a replay for us about that.
Not about that.
Oh, okay.
That's just me being disappointed and grumpy. But this is the final. This is the final battle here where Freedom's able to secure the game. They're just getting the insane lockdown with Void Prism and Leyline like they've been doing the entire game so far. They're able to call a target out of this and just immediately. I mean, look at this. Hosty goes down to. He hasn't done any damage yet other than the Gust. He's too low to fight right out of all of this. He gets picked off by a Burrow here. Everybody else is on Freedom's side is low, but not effectively low enough that they have to worry for their lives. And so it's just a matter of cleanup from here. But the Falstad not being able to do any damage at that point in the fight is too much for them to overcome. It was a great lockdown onto him.
So, gotta ask, what are our thoughts now on the Stitches? Was it that Medivh getting taken away, they couldn't execute the style of composition that they would have liked to? Was it something else that you guys think? Dread, thoughts on the Stitches?
I think it wasn't necessarily the best comp. I mean, for it wasn't terrible. Like, I can see where they were going for with it and the thought process, especially if they wanted the Medivh, but I wasn't convinced by any means, you know. But I also feel like Freedom played it really well to where they never had an opportunity to even see a full fight.
Yeah.
I do think Stitches is undervalued, but I don't think that was maybe his best showing.
Any additional thoughts before we go to a break?
They didn't get a kill the entire game until level 18, I think. And so with that comp, I would have liked to see. I mean, you have to get a couple picks, at least with the Stitches, through the course of the game. Otherwise, you're just not going to be getting enough value out of them. So they weren't able to do that in Freedom. I mean, they managed to play it passively and win in the end like they've been